A desperate young woman begs a mafia boss to hide her from her dad. What happened next shocked everyone. She discovers her father's trafficking ring and his plans to gift her to a 65-year-old crime lord. With nowhere else to turn, she runs straight into the arms of the one man her father fears most. Her protector keeps her like a beautiful prisoner, bringing her closer to his inner circle with every passing day. But as bullets fly and their forbidden attraction grows, neither realizes they're pawns in a decades-old blood vendetta. When she witnesses his brutal violence alongside unexpected tenderness, the walls between them crumble. But just as they surrender to their dangerous passion, a shocking truth emerges from the shadows, one that makes their very relationship taboo. Is their connection the most forbidden betrayal of family loyalty? Or will the shocking revelation of their shared blood be the very thing that binds them against a world determined to tear them apart? Through the iron gates of the Salvatore compound, rain pelted Valentina's trembling form as she faced the stone-faced guards, their weapons trained on her with unwavering precision. Security lights cast harsh shadows across the immaculate grounds, making the mansion beyond loom like a fortress in the darkness. "Please," she pleaded, her voice barely audible above the storm. "I need to see Dante Salvatore. It's a matter of life and death." The guards exchanged glances, their expressions hardening. The taller one stepped forward, his finger resting near his weapon's trigger. "Miss, this is private property. Turn around and leave now." "Tell him!" Valentina swallowed hard, forcing strength into her voice. "Tell him Carlo Russo's daughter is here with information he'll want to hear." That name sparked immediate tension. The guards' postures shifted, communications crackling through their earpieces. Valentina hugged herself, her designer clothes now reduced to dripping rags against her skin. The flash drive felt heavy in her pocket, its contents worth more than her life if her father discovered her betrayal. Minutes stretched like hours as she waited, remembering the countless times she'd heard her father curse Dante Salvatore's name, the way his face would contort with barely contained rage at any mention of the rival crime lord, the whispered warnings among their staff about never crossing paths with the Salvatore family. A sleek black SUV approached from inside the compound, its headlights cutting through the rain. Valentina's heart hammered against her ribs as 4 more armed men emerged, surrounding her with military precision. "Arms out, Miss Russo," one ordered, his tone leaving no room for argument. She complied as they patted her down, finding nothing but the flash drive and the meager cash she'd managed to grab. They examined the drive with suspicious scrutiny before one disappeared into the SUV to scan it for potential threats. "Please," she whispered again, shivering violently now. "I know what my father's doing. The trafficking, the deals with Vitelli. I have proof." The mention of trafficking caused another ripple of tension through the guards. She'd heard rumors that the Salvatore family considered such operations beneath them, a line they wouldn't cross despite their other criminal enterprises. The SUV's back door opened, and a woman in her 60s emerged, her silver hair elegant even in the rain. Her sharp eyes assessed Valentina with a mixture of concern and calculation. "I'm Rosa Salvatore," she announced, her voice carrying natural authority. "Dante's grandmother. You understand, child, that coming here is either very brave or very foolish." Valentina nodded, tears mixing with the rain on her cheeks. "I had nowhere else to go. My father," her voice broke, "he's planning to give me to Vitelli, like I'm property, like those other girls Rosa's expression softened slightly. She stepped closer, sheltering Valentina with her umbrella. "You're soaked to the bone, poor thing, and looking at you now, I see something of your mother in your face." The unexpected comment startled Valentina. "You knew my mother?" "That's a conversation for another time," Rosa replied carefully. "First, let's get you inside before you catch your death. Though I warn you, my grandson will have many questions, and he's not known for his patience or mercy where the Russo family is concerned." The guards formed a tight formation around them as Rosa guided Valentina toward the mansion. Inside the SUV, they dried her with thick towels, though she couldn't stop shaking, more from fear now than cold. The drive up the winding path seemed endless. Through the tinted windows, Valentina caught glimpses of manicured gardens and security checkpoints, all testament to the power and paranoia of the Salvatore Empire. The mansion grew larger, its Italian Renaissance architecture a statement of old-world wealth and influence. "Whatever happens," Rosa said quietly, "remember that you chose this path. There's no going back once you enter those doors. Do you understand?" Valentina met the older woman's gaze. The path was chosen for me the moment I learned what my father really is, what he does to those women, what he planned for me." Rosa studied her for a long moment before nodding. "You have steel in you, girl. You'll need it. Dante isn't a gentleman. Our world hasn't allowed for gentleness. But he does have honor in his way. That's more than I can say for Carlo Russo." The SUV stopped at the mansion's entrance, where more guards waited under the portico. Valentina's legs felt weak as she stepped out, taking in the massive wooden doors with their intricate carvings. Somewhere beyond them waited Dante Salvatore, the man her father feared above all others. Rosa's hand settled on her shoulder, surprisingly strong. "A word of advice, child. My grandson respects truth and despises manipulation. Whatever you tell him, make it plain and honest. Your life may depend on it." The doors opened, spilling warm light onto the rain-slicked steps. Valentina straightened her spine, summoning every ounce of courage she possessed. She'd run from one monster only to seek protection from another. But at least this monster, according to every whispered story she'd heard, lived by a code. "I'm ready," she said, though her voice trembled. Rosa's grip tightened briefly. "We'll see, child. We'll see." Valentina stumbled as the guards propelled her through marble hallways, their grip firm but not cruel. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing shadows across priceless artwork and antique furnishings that spoke of old money and even older power. Her wet clothes left small puddles on the immaculate floor, making her feel even more out of place. "Stop!" one guard commanded, opening an ornate door. "Wait here." They conducted another pat-down, more thorough than the one at the gates, before leaving her in what appeared to be an antechamber. The room, while beautifully appointed with silk-upholstered chairs and gilt-framed mirrors, felt more like a cage. A single lamp cast weak light across Persian rugs, leaving corners shrouded in shadow. Hours crawled by, her clothes dried stiffly, making her skin itch. She recognized the tactic. Her father used similar methods to unnerve business associates. The waiting was designed to exhaust and destabilize. Still, she forced herself to remain alert, knowing that whenever the door opened, she would face judgment. Her legs had long since gone numb from perching tensely on the edge of a delicate chair when footsteps finally approached. The door swung open, and Marco, Dante's notorious right-hand man, stood in the threshold. His expression revealed nothing as he gestured for her to follow. The office they led her to radiated masculine power. Dark wood paneling absorbed the lamplight, while floor-to-ceiling windows showcased the storm still raging outside. Behind an imposing mahogany desk sat Dante Salvatore himself. Valentina's breath caught. The photos she'd seen didn't do him justice. At 32, he carried authority like a second skin. His charcoal suit was expertly tailored to his powerful frame, the jacket draped over his chair, revealing a crisp white shirt with the sleeves rolled to expose strong forearms. Dark hair fell slightly mussed across his forehead, the only hint of humanity in his otherwise perfectly controlled appearance. But it was his eyes that trapped her. Cold and assessing, they seemed to strip away every defense, every lie, every secret she'd ever held. She fought the urge to step backward as his gaze traveled over her bedraggled form. With a subtle gesture, he dismissed the guards. Only Marco remained, taking up position by the door like a silent sentinel. "Miss Russo!" Dante's voice was deep, smooth as aged whiskey, but held no warmth. "You've caused quite a disruption to my evening." Valentina swallowed hard. "I apologize for the intrusion, Mr. Salvatore. I wouldn't have come if I had any other choice." "Sit!" He indicated the chair before his desk. As she perched on its edge, he leaned back, steepling his fingers. "Explain yourself. Quickly!" She withdrew the flash drive with trembling fingers. "My father, Carlo Russo. He's been running a trafficking operation. Young women, barely more than girls, sold to the highest bidders. I found proof in his office. Financial records, photos, everything's here." She set the drive on his desk. "He's also..." Her voice cracked. "He's planning to give me to Vitelli, as a gift, to secure some kind of alliance." At the mention of Carlo's name, something dangerous flickered in Dante's expression. Though his posture remained relaxed, tension radiated from him like heat from a furnace. "And you expect me to believe," he said softly, dangerously, "that Carlo Russo's daughter suddenly developed a conscience, that you'd betray your family out of moral outrage." "I expect you to believe I want to live," Valentina replied, surprising herself with her steadiness. "Vitelli is 65. The things I've heard about what he does to women..." She shuddered. "I won't end up like those other girls. I can't." Dante's eyes never left her face as he spoke to Marco. Verify her story, full background check, and get that drive to tech. I want to know exactly what's on it. Marco moved silently to comply, taking the flash drive with him. As the door closed, Valentina felt even more vulnerable alone with Dante. "Please," she whispered, exhaustion finally cracking her composure. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I have nowhere else to go. No one else strong enough to stand against my father. If you turn me away, I'm as good as dead, or worse." Something shifted in Dante's gaze, a flicker of possession, there and gone so quickly she might have imagined it. He rose smoothly, circling the desk to stand before her. Up close, his presence was overwhelming, filling the space with coiled power and carefully contained violence. Marco returned, murmuring something in Dante's ear. Whatever information he conveyed caused Dante's jaw to tighten fractionally. "It seems," Dante said finally, "we have a decision to make." He braced his hands on the desk behind him, looming over her. "I'm willing to offer you protection, Miss Russo, but it comes with conditions. Complete compliance with my terms, no exceptions." What terms?" Valentina managed. His smile held no humor. "We'll discuss specifics tomorrow. For now," he glanced at Marco, "prepare the guest suite in the East Wing for our unexpected visitor, post additional security. No one enters or leaves without my explicit permission." Marco nodded and moved to the door, but Dante wasn't finished. "And Marco, inform my grandmother her presence will be required at breakfast tomorrow. I believe she'll want to be involved in these arrangements." Sunlight streamed through gauzy curtains, warming Valentina's face. For a blissful moment, confusion reigned as her fingers traced the silken sheets beneath her. This wasn't her bedroom. Reality crashed back with brutal force, her escape, the rain, Dante Salvatore's penetrating stare. She bolted upright, taking in her surroundings. The guest suite was larger than her old bedroom, decorated in cream and gold. A sitting area with plush armchairs faced a marble fireplace. Double doors led to what appeared to be a private bathroom. Everything spoke of wealth, but the luxury felt like gilding on a cage. A soft knock preceded a woman entering with a breakfast tray. She was perhaps 50, with graying hair pulled into a neat bun and kind eyes that assessed Valentina carefully. "Good morning, Miss Russo. I'm Sophia, the head housekeeper." She set the tray on a small table. "I've brought fresh clothes as well. Mr. Salvatore expects you in his study at 10 o'clock sharp to discuss terms." Valentina's stomach churned at the reminder. "Thank you, Sophia. I'm not sure what to expect." Sophia's expression softened slightly. "Best to be prompt and respectful. Mr. Salvatore values punctuality." She gestured to the wardrobe. "I've selected several outfits that should fit. The bathroom is fully stocked with necessities." After Sophia left, Valentina explored her gilded prison. The suite was beautiful, but strategic. Windows overlooking manicured gardens wouldn't open more than a few inches. The heavy wooden door had no internal lock. When she peeked into the hallway, a guard straightened, watching her with blank eyes. She showered and dressed in a conservative black pencil skirt and cream blouse Sophia had provided, leaving her dark hair loose around her shoulders. The clothes fit perfectly, which was either impressive or unsettling. At precisely 10, the guard escorted her to Dante's study. He stood at the windows, hands clasped behind his back, cutting an imposing figure in another impeccable suit. When he turned, his expression was unreadable. "Sit." He indicated a leather chair before his desk. "We have details to discuss." Valentina perched on the edge, hands clasped tightly in her lap. Dante remained standing, using his height to advantage. "Your situation requires careful handling," he began. "Carlo will be looking for you. Therefore, you'll remain here indefinitely under my protection and my rules." "For how long?" Valentina asked. His smile held no warmth. "Until I decide otherwise. Publicly, you'll be introduced as my personal assistant, a position that explains your constant presence while maintaining appropriate distance. You'll surrender your phone and any other devices. All communication with the outside world goes through me first." "So I'm your prisoner," she said quietly. "You're under my protection," he corrected, voice hardening. "Unless you prefer returning to your father's tender mercies. I'm sure Vitelli's eagerly awaiting his gift." Valentina flinched. "No." "Then we continue. You'll assist me with actual business matters, legitimate ones, to maintain our cover story. Sophia will help you settle in and explain household routines." He circled the desk, invading her space. "Remember, you came to me. These are my terms." After their meeting, Dante personally conducted a tour of the estate, The mansion was a maze of corridors and wings, some areas clearly off limits. The grounds stretched for acres, bounded by high stone walls topped with security measures. "The gardens are at your disposal during daylight hours," Dante said, gesturing to meticulously maintained paths. "But never go beyond the hedges marking the inner grounds. The guards have instructions." They encountered various staff members, groundskeepers, security, household staff. Each interaction carried the same subtle message. She belonged to Dante now. Their deference to him bordered on fear. That evening, alone in her suite, Valentina stood at the window. The setting sun painted the courtyard in bloody hues. Movement caught her eye, Dante confronting one of his men. Even from this distance, his rage was palpable in the set of his shoulders. The punishment was swift and brutal. Dante's fist connected with surgical precision, dropping the man to his knees. He spoke words she couldn't hear, then delivered a kick that left the man curled on the ground. Other guards watched impassively as their colleague was dragged away. Valentina's hands trembled as she stepped back from the window. The scene confirmed what she'd suspected since last night. She'd traded one dangerous man for another. Dante Salvatore might be younger and more refined than Vitelli, his violence more controlled than her father's, but he was possibly more lethal than either. Sophia found her still standing there, lost in thought. "Your dinner, miss." "Thank you." Valentina turned from the window. "Sophia, what did that man do? The one Dante, Mr. Salvatore, punished?" Sophia's expression revealed nothing as she arranged the dinner tray. "He failed to properly verify a delivery's contents. In our world, such carelessness can be fatal." She straightened, meeting Valentina's eyes. "Mr. Salvatore's methods may seem harsh, but they keep everyone alive. Remember that." The words offered cold comfort as Valentina picked at her dinner, the food tasting like ash. Outside, the courtyard had been swept clean, no evidence remaining of the violence she'd witnessed. Like everything in this place, appearances were maintained, brutality hidden beneath a veneer of elegance. She wondered what other displays of Dante's power she would witness, what terms might yet be added to their arrangement. The luxury surrounding her suddenly felt suffocating. Beautiful things masking ugly truths, just like in her father's house. The morning sun filtered through the study's windows as Valentina organized another stack of files. 1 week into her stay at the Salvatore estate, she'd fallen into an unexpectedly comfortable routine. The work wasn't difficult, mostly sorting correspondence and digitizing old records, but it kept her mind occupied. The door creaked open, drawing her attention. An elderly woman entered, her silver hair elegantly styled, leaning on a walker, but moving with determined grace. "Ah, so you're the girl everyone's whispering about." The woman's keen eyes studied Valentina. "I'm Rosa Salvatore. You can call me Nonna. Everyone does." Valentina straightened, uncertain how to address Dante's grandmother. "It's nice to meet you, Nonna. I'm Valentina." "Such a pretty name." Nonna Rosa settled into Dante's chair with familiar ease. "Come closer, dear. These old eyes aren't what they used to be." Hesitantly, Valentina approached. Nonna Rosa patted the chair beside her. "My grandson keeps you busy with all this paperwork." She gestured at the files. "Dante always was too serious. Even as a boy, always with his nose in books instead of playing. He was studious." Valentina couldn't imagine Dante as a child. "Oh, yes. After his parents." Nonna Rosa paused, pain flickering across her features. "Well, he had to grow up too fast. Raising Aria alone at 12, running the family business. But he still visits his old Nonna every day, brings me fresh flowers." The image of Dante bringing flowers to his grandmother didn't align with the man who'd brutally disciplined his guard last week. "Would you like to help me in my garden?" Nonna Rosa asked suddenly. "These hands aren't as nimble as they used to be." Valentina glanced at the unfinished files. "I should really finish." "Nonsense. The papers can wait." Nonna Rosa's tone brooked no argument. "Some sunshine will do you good." The garden was a Mediterranean paradise, beds of herbs and flowers arranged around a bubbling fountain. Nonna Rosa directed Valentina in dead-heading roses while sharing stories about Dante's childhood, his protectiveness of his sister Aria, now running their European operations from Switzerland, his excellence at chess, his mother's favorite recipes that he still requested. "He works too hard," Nonna Rosa sighed, pinching back basil plants. "All business, no joy. A man needs more than revenge to live for." Valentina absorbed these glimpses into Dante's character, filing away each detail. The afternoon passed pleasantly until Marco appeared, looking concerned. "Miss Russo, Mr. Salvatore requires your presence at dinner." His tone suggested this wasn't optional. Dinner had become a nightly requirement over the past week. Silent affairs, Dante working on his tablet while Valentina picked at elaborate meals. Tonight felt different. Tension radiated from Dante's rigid posture as she entered the formal dining room. "Sit!" He barely looked up from his phone. "Your father's men have been asking questions in the city." Valentina's fork clattered against her plate. "What? They're searching for you." His dark eyes finally met hers. "Getting bold enough to venture into my territory." "I'm sorry, I never meant to bring trouble." "You're mine now." The possessive growl in his voice made her shiver. "Carlo's men won't touch what belongs to me." He barked orders into his phone, doubling security patrols, adding surveillance. Valentina barely tasted her food, stomach churning with renewed fear. Later that night, a knock startled her from restless sleep. Dante filled her doorway, his white shirt untucked, hair slightly disheveled. "Pack your things," he ordered. "You're moving closer to my quarters for safety." "What? Now?" "Now." His tone left no room for argument. 2 guards appeared with boxes. Valentina watched numbly as they transferred her belongings to a new suite, one directly connected to Dante's private rooms through an adjoining door. The space was even more luxurious than her previous accommodation, but the proximity to Dante made her pulse race. Standing in her new bedroom, reality crashed over her. Her father's men wanted her dead for stealing his secrets. The flash drive made her too valuable for Dante to ever release, and now she'd be sleeping mere steps from a man whose intense gazes increasingly held something beyond mere protective interest. "These rooms are more secure," Dante explained, watching her reaction. "The connecting door stays unlocked. If there's trouble, you come directly to me." Valentina nodded mechanically, mind spinning. She was trapped, not just by circumstances, but by the growing web of complications surrounding her presence in Dante's home. The flash drive, her father's threats, and now this new arrangement, placing her firmly under Dante's personal supervision. "Try to rest," he said, softer than usual. "No one will harm you here." But as the guards departed and Valentina stood alone in her new quarters, that connecting door loomed like a physical presence. She wasn't sure what frightened her more, her father's men wanting her dead, or the way Dante's possessive protection seemed to be evolving into something far more complex. The mansion settled into nighttime silence. Through her window she could see additional guards patrolling the grounds, their weapons visible even in the darkness. Inside, the connecting door stood as a constant reminder that the most dangerous man of all was now just a few steps away. The morning light filtered through gauzy curtains, highlighting the opulent details of Valentina's new suite. Hand-painted silk wallpaper, antique Italian furniture, and a marble bathroom bigger than her old bedroom. Yet despite the luxury, the space felt more confining than ever. She tested the connecting door to Dante's quarters, finding it locked from his side. The symbolism wasn't lost on her. He could access her space at will, but she remained contained. While organizing her meager wardrobe in the walk-in closet, Dante's voice carried through the wall, his tone sharp and commanding. "Double the guards at all properties. No one enters without triple verification. If Carlo's men are spotted within 50 miles, I want to know immediately." Valentina froze, hanging a blouse. Her father's name still had the power to make her hands shake. At breakfast, served in a private dining room, Dante studied reports on his tablet while she picked at perfectly prepared eggs Benedict. "You're coming to the office with me today," he announced without looking up. "The office?" She set down her fork. "I thought, keeping you here alone is too risky now. You'll work as my assistant at Salvatore Enterprises. The role provides public cover for your presence." An hour later, Valentina sat in the back of an armored SUV, flanked by guards as they drove into the city. Salvatore Enterprises occupied the top floors of a gleaming skyscraper. She watched in fascination as Dante transformed from intimidating crime boss to polished CEO, commanding respect in both worlds with equal ease. His corner office offered stunning views of the city. Valentina settled at a desk outside his door, handling calls and organizing files. During a board meeting, she noticed discrepancies in the quarterly reports, irregular payments that didn't match documented projects. When she quietly pointed this out to Dante during a break, his eyes narrowed with dangerous interest. "Show me." She highlighted the suspicious transactions, explaining the pattern she'd noticed. "These payments don't align with any legitimate business activities." A predatory smile curved his lips. "Very good, Piccola. It seems someone's been skimming profits." He touched her shoulder briefly. "Your attention to detail is valuable." The praise warmed her unexpectedly, but the moment shattered when Marco burst in, face grim. "The Phoenix Club," he said tersely. "Bomb went off an hour ago. 3 of our men dead. Dante's expression turned lethal. Survivors? 2 injured. Security footage shows Giuseppe Russo, your father's lieutenant, he added, for Valentina's benefit, casing the place this morning. The drive back to the estate crackled with tension. Dante made calls in rapid Italian, his voice controlled but deadly. Valentina stared out the window, guilt weighing heavily. More deaths because of her presence. The gathering tomorrow night, Dante said finally, ending his last call. All the families will be there. It's time to make your position clear. What do you mean? Your father needs to understand that attacking my businesses, threatening what's mine, has consequences. His dark gaze raked over her. You'll attend as my personal guest. Let him see exactly who you belong to now. Back in her suite, Valentina tried to calm her racing thoughts with a hot shower. She had just slipped on a silk nightgown when her door opened without warning. Dante stood in the doorway, jacket discarded, shirt sleeves rolled up to reveal muscled forearms. His eyes tracked over her exposed skin, lingering on the thin strap of her nightgown. She backed up instinctively, but he followed with predatory grace. When her shoulders hit the wall, he reached out, fingers tracing a silvered scar that curved over her right shoulder, a souvenir from one of her father's rages. He did this to you? Dante's voice was soft, dangerous. Valentina nodded, unable to speak with him so close, his cologne filling her senses, his jaw clenched. Tomorrow, I'm sending your father a message. From now on, everyone will know you're under my protection, and exactly what that means. His fingers lingered on her skin, raising goosebumps in their wake. Heat radiated from his body, and Valentina found herself swaying slightly toward him despite her fear. The air between them grew thick with unspoken tension. For a moment, she thought he might kiss her. His gaze dropped to her parted lips, and his free hand came up to brace against the wall beside her head, caging her in. She could feel his breath on her cheek, count every dark eyelash framing those intense eyes. The moment stretched like heated glass, fragile and dangerous. Then Marco's voice rang out from the hallway, breaking the spell. Boss, the security report you wanted. Dante stepped back smoothly, though his eyes still burned with something that made Valentina's pulse race. Without another word, he turned and left through the connecting door, leaving her trembling against the wall, skin tingling where he'd touched her. Through the wall, she could hear him resuming business, discussing increased patrols and security measures with Marco, but the echo of his touch lingered, along with the implicit threat or promise in his words about tomorrow's gathering. Valentina sank onto her bed, mind spinning. Her father's escalating attacks, Dante's increasing possessiveness, and now this charged moment between them. Everything was becoming more complicated by the hour, and tomorrow night, at the gathering of families, something would change irrevocably. She could feel it in her bones. Soft, morning light filtered through the windows as Valentina entered her suite after breakfast, stopping short at the sight laid across her bed. A midnight blue evening gown shimmered with subtle beading, its elegant lines promising to hug every curve. Beside it, a velvet box held a diamond necklace that could have funded a small country. Sophia appeared behind her, already carrying various styling tools. Mr. Salvatore selected these himself, she said, running a practiced hand over the dress's fabric. He has specific ideas about your appearance tonight. Valentina's stomach twisted. Everyone will be watching, won't they? It's not every day a Russo seeks protection from a Salvatore. Sophia guided her to the vanity, beginning the hours-long transformation. As she worked, she spoke carefully. You should understand what it means to be under his protection. Tell me, Valentina said, meeting Sophia's eyes in the mirror. Dante Salvatore is feared for good reason. His enemies tend to disappear without trace, but he has lines he won't. Cross! Sophia's hands moved expertly through Valentina's hair. He eliminated the Costello family when he discovered their trafficking ring. Wouldn't even negotiate, just wiped them out completely. But he's still a killer. A calculated one. He doesn't target innocents or families. His violence has purpose. Sophia pinned another curl. When he claims someone as his, their protection becomes absolute. Even his enemies respect that boundary. The preparation continued in thoughtful silence. When Sophia finally stepped back, Valentina hardly recognized herself. The gown molded to her body like liquid midnight, the diamonds at her throat catching light with every breath. She looked expensive, untouchable, exactly as Dante intended. The historic Giovanni Hotel loomed before them, its marble facade glowing in the evening light. Dante helped her from the car, his hand warm against her bare back. The touch felt possessive, a silent warning to anyone watching. Inside, the ballroom dripped old-world luxury, Crystal chandeliers cast golden light over gathered crime families, the air thick with power and tension. Conversations hushed as they entered, dozens of calculating gazes assessing her presence at Dante's side. "Chin up," he murmured, steering her through the crowd. "Show no fear." They made obligatory rounds, Dante introducing her with careful precision, not quite claiming her but making his interest clear. She felt the weight of speculation, heard whispered fragments about Carlo's absent daughter seeking sanctuary with his greatest enemy. "Your father sends his regards." The oily voice made her stiffen. Vito, her father's right-hand man, stood before them in an ill-fitting suit. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "He's quite concerned about your situation." Vito's gaze slid to Dante. "He hopes you'll reconsider your current arrangement before things become unfortunate." Dante's hand tightened on her waist. The temperature seemed to drop several degrees. "Deliver a message to Carlo," Dante said, his voice carrying just far enough to draw attention. "Valentina is under my personal protection. Any move against her will be considered a direct attack on the Salvatore family." His smile was lethal. "I trust you understand the implications." Vito's face drained of color. In their world, such a public declaration was both shield and gauntlet thrown. There would be no walking it back. The drive home stretched in tense silence until Valentina couldn't bear it. "Why?" she demanded. "Why make such a declaration? What do you gain from protecting me?" Dante stared ahead at the dark road, jaw tight. "There's history between our families you don't know about. Debts unpaid, scores unsettled. Tell me." "No." His tone left no room for argument. "Not yet." Later that night, unable to sleep, Valentina padded toward the kitchen for tea. Voices made her pause in the shadowed doorway. "Here, Nonna, just how you like it." The scene before her seemed impossible. Dante Salvatore, feared Mafia boss, carefully stirring hot chocolate for his grandmother. His suit jacket was gone, sleeves rolled up, expression softened with genuine affection. "The same nightmares?" he asked quietly. Nonna Rosa nodded, fragile hands curled around her mug. "The old memories come back sometimes. Your father, when he was young like you." "I know." Dante squeezed her shoulder gently. "Try to rest. You're a good boy, Dante, despite everything." The old woman touched his cheek. "Your father would be proud of the man you've become, even with the darkness you carry." Valentina retreated silently, heart pounding. The tenderness she'd witnessed felt more intimate than any violence. This glimpse of Dante's humanity left her more unsettled than his threats ever had. Back in her room, she traced the diamonds at her throat. His diamonds, marking her as his to protect. The man who'd orchestrated brutal hits was the same one who made midnight hot chocolate for his grandmother. The paradox made her head spin. Sleep eluded her as she replayed the evening's events. Dante's public claim complicated everything. There would be no going back now, no neutral ground left. She was irrevocably tied to him for better or worse. Her father's absence tonight spoke volumes. He was planning something. She knew him too well to believe otherwise. But for the first time, she felt truly safe under Dante's protection. Not just from physical harm, but in ways she couldn't quite explain. The diamonds caught moonlight from her window, throwing scattered brilliance across her ceiling. Beautiful and dangerous, like everything in Dante's world. Like the man himself, perhaps. The morning sun painted long shadows across Dante's office as he spread photos and documents from Valentina's flash drive across his mahogany desk. She sat beside him, closer than usual, their shoulders nearly touching as they examined the evidence. "Tell me everything you know about these operations," Dante commanded, his voice controlled but tight with anger as he studied photos of young women being loaded into unmarked vans. "My father kept most details from me, but I discovered routes, dates, and financial records." Valentina's fingers trembled slightly as she sorted through papers. "These ledgers show payments from clubs across Europe." Dante's jaw clenched as he reviewed the documents. The disgust in his expression seemed genuine, almost personal. She'd seen him angry before, but this was different. A cold fury that made the air feel heavy. "Why does this particular crime bother you so much?" she asked carefully. "You've killed people, run illegal operations." Silence stretched between them. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, haunted. "My sister, Aria, she was 15 when they tried to take her." Valentina's breath caught. She hadn't expected such honesty. A rival family thought kidnapping her would give them leverage. His hands curled into fists. Their men grabbed her. Outside her boarding school, she fought back, Broke one man's nose, gave another a concussion, bought enough time for my security to reach her. What happened to the men who tried? They disappeared. His tone left no doubt about their fate. After that, I established a zero-tolerance policy. Anyone trafficking women or children in my territory dies, painfully. Understanding bloomed. His protectiveness, his controlled rage at her father's operations. It wasn't just business, it was personal. Their work continued through the afternoon, the shared confidence creating subtle changes. His explanations became more detailed, her questions more direct. The wall between them hadn't fallen, but hairline cracks had appeared. Shouts from the hallway interrupted their analysis. Marco burst in, face grim. "Boss, we caught Giovanni selling information to the Vitelli family." Dante's expression hardened instantly. "Take him to the basement. I'll handle this personally." He turned to Valentina. "Stay here. This isn't something you need to see." She nodded obediently, waiting until his footsteps faded before slipping out. Following the sounds of confrontation, she crept down narrow stairs to the basement's outer room. Through a partially open door, she watched the scene unfold. Giovanni knelt on concrete, bleeding from his nose. Dante circled him slowly, radiating lethal grace. "Explain yourself," Dante commanded. "Quick and honest might save your life." "They have my sister," Giovanni choked out. "Her baby. Said they'd kill them if I didn't cooperate." Something shifted in Dante's expression. Names, locations, everything. The interrogation was brutal, but efficient. Within an hour, Dante had extracted every detail. Instead of the execution Valentina expected, he made a call. "Marco, send a team to this address. Extract Giovanni's sister and her child. Relocate them to our property in Switzerland." He fixed Giovanni with a cold stare. "Your family will be protected, but you'll never work in this territory again. Leave Italy by morning." That evening, over wine and pasta, Valentina found her courage. "You showed mercy today. Why?" "Contrary to popular belief, I don't enjoy killing." Dante swirled his wine thoughtfully. "Fear and loyalty both have their uses. Giovanni betrayed me under duress to protect family. Killing him would discourage others from coming clean when threatened. Showing measured mercy was strategic." "Your world is more complex than I imagined," says the woman who grew up in it. "Different perspective," she countered. "I saw the surface, the facade my father maintained. You're showing me the machinery beneath." "And what do you think of what you see?" She met his gaze steadily. "I think we're both trying to survive legacies we didn't choose." Something almost soft flickered in his eyes. Perceptive. They worked late into the night, reviewing security footage from her father's properties. The day's revelations had changed something. Between them, making silence comfortable rather than tense. Exhaustion crept up slowly. The last thing Valentina remembered was resting her head on her arms. Just for a moment. She drifted in and out of consciousness as strong arms lifted her. Through heavy lids, she watched shadows play across Dante's face as he carried her. His touch was surprisingly gentle, at odds with the violence she'd witnessed earlier. He laid her carefully on her bed, movements precise as he drew covers over her. For a moment, he stood watching her. Then, with unexpected tenderness, he brushed stray hair from her face. His fingertips lingered for a heartbeat before he withdrew silently into the darkness. 3 weeks of working alongside Dante had taught Valentina to read the subtle shifts in his demeanor. Tonight, as they drove back from the warehouse raid, satisfaction radiated from his usual stoic presence. They'd freed 17 women, dealing a significant blow to her father's operation. "The safe houses are ready," she said, reviewing updates on her tablet. "Your charity social workers will meet them in the morning." Dante nodded, his profile sharp against the passing streetlights. "Good. Your knowledge of the security protocols made this possible." It wasn't quite praise, but warmth bloomed in her chest anyway. These small moments of approval had become surprisingly important to her. Back at the estate, they worked efficiently to coordinate the rescued women's placement. Valentina couldn't help noticing how Dante's organization handled trafficking victims with unexpected gentleness. Medical care, counseling, new identities if needed. "The gala starts at 8, he reminded her. "Sophia laid out what you'll wear." The dress waiting in her room took her breath away. Deep burgundy silk that whispered wealth and sophistication. Sophia helped style her hair into elegant waves while explaining the event's significance. "The Children's Hospital Gala is Dante's most important public appearance," she said. "Many powerful people attend. You'll need to be careful." Valentina understood the warning. These past weeks had taught her to navigate Dante's world, to read the currents of power and danger beneath polite smiles. When she descended the stairs, Dante's intense gaze made her pause. He stood adjusting his cufflinks, the black tuxedo emphasizing his powerful frame. Something heated flickered in his eyes before his expression smoothed. "Acceptable," he said simply, but his hand settled possessively at her lower back as they walked to the car. The gala venue dripped old-world luxury, crystal chandeliers, marble floors, string quartet playing softly. Valentina felt the weight of curious stares as they entered. Her role as Dante's assistant was known, but rumors circulated about her true position. She was reviewing donor lists when she felt a chill. Antonio Vitelli had arrived, the 65-year-old crime boss her father had promised her to. His son Marco accompanied. Him, handsome in a cruel way that made her skin crawl. Dante was occupied with business associates when Marco cornered her near the bar. His smile didn't reach his eyes. "Miss Russo," he said softly. "Or do you prefer your new master's name?" "I work for Mr. Salvatore," she replied carefully. "Nothing more." "Really? Your father tells a different story." He stepped closer. "He's quite angry about your betrayal. Says you stole something valuable from him." Fear crawled up her spine, but she kept her expression neutral. "I'm sure I don't know what you mean." "I think you do." His fingers brushed her arm. "Perhaps we should discuss it privately." "Is there a problem here?" Dante's voice cut through the tension like a blade. He materialized beside her, radiating controlled violence, despite his elegant attire. Marco stepped back, smirking. "Not at all, just catching up with an old family friend." "Valentina isn't available for private discussions," Dante said smoothly, but his meaning was clear. She belonged to him now. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of polite conversation and underlying threats. Valentina caught fragments of discussions about her father's weakening position, territory changing hands, loyalty shifting to Dante. When they finally headed to the parking garage, she was exhausted from maintaining her composure. Dante's security team swept the area, but something felt wrong. The first shot cracked through the concrete space. Dante moved with startling speed, spinning them behind a pillar as he shielded her with his body. More shots followed, the sound deafening. "Stay down!" he ordered, pressing her closer as bullets sparked off concrete. She felt the moment one found its mark. His sharp intake of breath, warm wetness seeping through his jacket sleeve. His men returned fire with brutal efficiency. When silence fell, 4 bodies lay on the garage floor. "Carlo's men," Marco confirmed, checking their IDs. The drive home was electric with adrenaline and unspoken tension. Valentina couldn't stop staring at the blood staining Dante's sleeve. "It's just a graze," he said, reading her concern. "Let me help," she insisted when they reached his rooms. To her surprise, he allowed her to follow him into the massive ensuite bathroom. Her fingers trembled slightly as she helped him remove his jacket and shirt. The wound wasn't deep, but anger flared seeing his blood, knowing her father had ordered this. She worked carefully, cleaning the graze with antiseptic. Dante watched her face intently, neither speaking as she applied butterfly bandages. Standing this close, she could smell his cologne, feel the heat radiating from his skin. Her hand lingered on his shoulder, their faces inches apart. Something dark and wanting flickered in his eyes. The air felt charged, heavy with possibility. Then Dante stepped back abruptly, his expression shuddering. "I need to make some calls about this attack." But the look they exchanged as he left held. Nothing of business, only heat and hunger and the knowledge that everything had shifted between them. Sunlight filtered through heavy curtains as Valentina woke, momentarily disoriented. The events from the gala crashed back, gunshots, Dante's blood, that charged moment in his bathroom. Outside her window, armed guards patrolled with increased frequency. Her phone buzzed with a message from Sofia. "Mr. Salvatore is in emergency meetings. Breakfast is in your sitting room." The mansion hummed with tension. Security teams moved with urgent purpose, speaking in hushed tones. Valentina felt oddly untethered without Dante's commanding presence nearby. She wandered the quiet halls until finding the library, a 2-story sanctuary of leather-bound books and rich mahogany. Afternoon light streamed through tall windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the air. A collection of framed photographs caught her attention. Most showed formal family occasions, but one made her pause. A young boy with familiar dark eyes sat between his parents at what looked like a birthday party. His smile was carefree, nothing like the controlled mask Dante wore now. "That was his 12th birthday!" Sophia's voice startled her. "Just 3 months before everything changed." The housekeeper moved closer, studying the photo with sad fondness. He was such a happy child. Brilliant, always reading, devoted to his little sister. But after that night, she shook her head. The boy in that photo died with his parents. What happened? Valentina asked softly. It's not my story to tell. But he became someone else. Harder, colder. Had to, really. Taking over the family at 12, raising Arya alone. Sophia straightened a frame with careful hands. 20 years he's carried that burden. Valentina's mind raced. 20 years ago. The same time her father's power had suddenly expanded. The pieces started forming a darker picture. She spent hours in the library trying to lose herself in books but unable to stop glancing at young Dante's innocent smile. When Sophia announced dinner, Valentina found Dante already seated, jacket discarded, sleeve rolled up showing her bandaging from the night before. The air felt charged with everything unsaid. Your father's men are falling back, he said without preamble. He's lost too much ground to maintain aggressive moves. Valentina pushed food around her plate. The photo in the library, you look happy. Before. His expression closed off instantly. She expected anger at her prying, but after a long moment he stood. Come with me. He led her to a part of the mansion she'd never seen, using a key to unlock heavy wooden doors. The private study beyond felt intensely personal. Dark wood, leather chairs, walls lined with books and files. A drink cart held crystal decanters. Whiskey, he offered, pouring without waiting for her answer. She accepted the glass, watching him shed layers of control with each sip. He moved to the window, streetlights casting shadows across his face. I was 12, he said finally, voice rough. Carlo Russo orchestrated it perfectly, made sure I was there to watch, called it a message to anyone who might challenge him. Horror washed through her. My father, he killed your parents? Had them executed. Right in front of me. His knuckles whitened around his glass. Left me alive to remember, to fear him. Instead, I spent 20 years becoming the thing he should have feared most. Valentina felt sick. She'd been a pawn all along, leverage in a decades-old blood feud. But looking at Dante now, she saw past the ruthless facade to the wounded boy beneath. She moved closer, drawn by his raw vulnerability. You were just a child. I stopped being a child that night. His eyes met hers, dark with old pain. Everything I've built, every move I've made, it's all been leading to his destruction. And then you arrived. Using me for revenge would be easy, she whispered. Yes. His thumb traced the rim of his glass. But you've awakened something I thought died with that boy in the photo. Something that wants more than vengeance. The confession hung between them. Valentina saw the war in his eyes. Desire versus restraint, hope versus fear. Making her choice, she stepped into his space and pressed her lips to his. For a heartbeat, he remained still. Then with a groan, he took control of the kiss, one hand tangling in her hair while the other pulled her flush against him. She tasted whiskey and desperation as the kiss deepened, years of isolation crumbling under shared need. His lips traveled down her neck as she gasped his name. The sound seemed to break through his haze. He pulled back, breathing hard, eyes tortured. I destroy everything I touch, he said roughly. My darkness would consume you. Maybe I'm stronger than you think. You deserve better than my damaged soul. Valentina stepped back, heart pounding. And if I want to make that choice myself? But Dante had already rebuilt his walls. He moved to his desk, creating physical distance. Good night, Valentina. She left him alone in his study, the taste of him still on her lips. They both knew something fundamental had shifted, a line crossed that couldn't be uncrossed. Whether it led to salvation or destruction remained to be seen. Valentina's scream pierced the darkness. In her nightmare, her father's hands wrapped around her throat, his cold voice promising punishment for her betrayal. She thrashed against silk sheets, terror holding her between sleep and waking. The connecting door burst open. Dante appeared, gun drawn, wearing only sleep pants. His eyes scanned for threats before focusing on her trembling form. Valentina! His voice cut through her panic. You're safe! Still caught in the nightmare's grip, she reached for him blindly. Without hesitation, he holstered his weapon and gathered her close. His solid warmth anchored her to reality. He was here, she gasped. My father. He found me. No one's here but me. Dante's arms tightened. I won't let him touch you. Gradually, her breathing steadied. She became aware of their position, her face pressed to his bare chest, his hand stroking her hair. The intimacy they'd been avoiding for a week crystallized in the darkness. "How did you get in?" she whispered. "I have a key. In case—" He paused. "In case you needed me." She lifted her head, finding his face inches from hers. The careful distance they'd maintained since their kiss in his study evaporated. His eyes dropped to her lips. "I should go," he said roughly, but made no move to release her. "Stay." The word hung between them. Dante's control visibly wavered. Then Valentina stretched up and pressed her lips to his, and restraint shattered. His kiss was hungry, desperate, a week of denied desire unleashing. She matched his intensity, fingers tracing the muscles of his back as he pressed her into the mattress. When his lips found her throat, she gasped his name. "Tell me to stop," he growled against her skin. "Never!" Clothes disappeared. His hands and mouth explored every inch of her, drawing sounds she never knew she could make. When he finally joined their bodies, the emotional connection stunned them both. This wasn't just passion, it was revelation. Dawn found them tangled together, neither sleeping. Dante traced patterns on her bare shoulder while Valentina listened to his heartbeat. "I don't regret this," she said softly. But your world is dangerous. What if I lose myself in it? In you." He tilted her chin up. "You're stronger than that. You've proven it repeatedly. And you? Can the big bad boss afford to care about someone? Too late." His kiss was gentle. "I already do." Their morning peace shattered when Marco knocked, bringing urgent news. Carlo's operation was mobilizing. Dozens of trafficking victims being moved across state lines that night. They dressed quickly, shifting into business mode despite heated glances. In Dante's office, they pored over maps and intelligence reports. Valentina's intimate knowledge of her father's methods proved invaluable as they planned the interception. "He'll have decoy vehicles," she explained, marking routes. "But the real transport will take this back road. He used it when moving other merchandise." The word tasted bitter. Dante's lieutenants watched with growing respect as she detailed guard rotations and security protocols. She and Dante worked in perfect sync, finishing each other's thoughts. As sunset approached, final preparations began. Dante's men checked weapons, while Valentina reviewed building layouts. Then Dante pulled her aside. "You're staying here. Like hell I am. It's too dangerous. I know those buildings better than anyone. You need me on site. If anything happened to you." His jaw clenched. "I'm not some delicate flower." She stepped closer. "I'm the daughter of a monster who survived years of his abuse. I've learned to be dangerous too. That's what scares me." His hands framed her face. "You make me vulnerable. If they used you against me, then teach me to defend myself, but don't lock me away." She met his gaze firmly. "I choose this. I choose you, all of you, even the dangerous parts. But I won't be kept in a cage, even a gilded one." Their standoff lasted several heartbeats. Finally, Dante exhaled. "You stay with my best men. You wear Kevlar. You follow orders instantly." "Agreed." She kissed him briefly. "Now help me gear up." As the team made final preparations for the dawn raid, Dante led her back to her room. The urgency of their earlier lovemaking was replaced by something deeper. Each touch carried unspoken emotions. Each kiss held promises neither had dared voice before. "Ti amo," he whispered against her skin, the Italian confession slipping out unbidden. Her heart soared even as fear flickered. Love made them stronger, but also more vulnerable. In their world, emotions could be weapons. But as Dante held her close, whispering passionate words in mixed Italian and English, Valentina chose to embrace the risk. They had found something rare, a connection that transcended the darkness of their world. Whatever came next, they would face it together. The night passed too quickly, dawn approaching with its promise of violence. But for these precious hours, they existed in their own universe of tangled sheets and whispered devotion, building memories to carry them through the dangerous day ahead. The raid began in pre-dawn darkness. Valentina sat in the surveillance van beside Marco, multiple screens showing thermal imaging of the warehouse complex. Her heart raced as she watched Dante's team move into position. "Guards change in 3 minutes," she murmured into her headset. "The backup generator has a blind spot on the east wall." "Copy that." Dante's voice came through clear and controlled. "Team 2, move to the east entrance. Wait for my signal." Valentina studied the security feed she'd helped them hack into. "Camera 3 has a 6-second delay. That's your window." Through the monitors, she watched the assault team slip through the complex's defenses using her inside knowledge. Years of observing her father's operations were finally being used for good. Main storage area ahead, she said. The women will be in the climate-controlled section. Keypad code 847392. The next minutes passed in tense silence, broken only by brief tactical communications. When gunfire erupted, Valentina gripped the edge of her seat. Marco placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "Target secured," came Dante's voice. 12 civilians recovered. Medical team needed. Relief flooded through her until she heard the next transmission. "Boss, Carlo's not here. Place is cleared, but he's gone." Dante's curse crackled through the comms. "How long?" "Coffee's still hot in his office. Minutes, maybe." Back at the estate, controlled chaos reigned as medical teams treated the rescued women and intelligence teams interrogated captured lieutenants. Valentina helped coordinate with the legitimate charities that would provide safe housing and rehabilitation services. She found Dante in his office later, tension radiating from his rigid posture as he spoke on the phone. "I want every security camera within 10 miles checked," he ordered. Someone tipped him off. Find out who. When he hung up, she approached cautiously. "The women are being taken care of. 3 needed medical attention, but nothing critical." He nodded, but didn't look at her. "Federal agents have been asking questions about both families." "That's not unusual, is it?" "The timing is suspicious. First Carlo escapes, now this." He ran a hand through his hair. "Someone's talking to them." She touched his arm, but he pulled away. The rejection stung. "What's wrong? Beyond the obvious?" "This." He gestured between them. "It's dangerous. Us being together makes you stronger, not weaker. It makes you a target." His voice roughened. "If anything happened to you." "I lived under my father's control for 23 years, she said quietly. "Do you want to know what that was really like?" When he finally met her eyes, she continued. "I learned to be invisible, to anticipate his moods, to make myself small. The first time he hit me, I was 6. I'd spilled juice on his imported rug." Her voice stayed steady through years of practice. "He made me clean it up while he watched. Said I needed to learn consequences." Dante's hands clenched, but he stayed silent. "By 12, I knew how to hack his security system, forge his signature, crack his safe. Not because he taught me, but because knowing his secrets meant surviving him." She stepped closer. "I will never go back to that life. Never be under his control again. You don't need to protect me from him. I've been doing it my whole life." The distance between them vanished as he pulled her close, his embrace fierce. "I'm not him. I won't ever be him." "I know." She touched his face. "That's why I trust you. Why I chose you." His kiss was both tender and possessive. When they separated, something had shifted in his expression. "Come with me," he said. In his private office, he pulled up a secure video call. A beautiful woman with dark hair appeared on screen. "Arya, meet Valentina, officially." His sister's smile was warm. "Finally. I've been dying to talk to you properly." For the next hour, Valentina found herself drawn into easy conversation with Arya, who shared embarrassing stories about teenage Dante while he pretended to be annoyed. His hand remained on Valentina's lower back, thumb tracing small circles. After the call ended, Dante showed her sensitive financial records and security protocols she hadn't previously been cleared to see. "No more barriers," he said. "We're in this together." They worked late into the night, mapping Carlo's remaining assets and planning their next moves. When Dante's phone rang, he checked the display. "I need to take this. Back in 5 minutes." He kissed her temple before stepping out. Alone in his office, Valentina noticed a file minimized on his computer about the trafficking victim's placement. She clicked it open, wanting to ensure the women were being properly cared for. The security camera in the corner recorded her actions silently, its footage already being downloaded by someone who would soon use it to destroy everything she and Dante had built. But for now, she remained unaware, focused only on helping the women whose suffering she understood too well. The night stretched peaceful and quiet around her as she worked, feeling for the first time truly part of something meaningful, unaware that darkness was gathering just beyond the horizon. Morning sunlight streamed through the conservatory windows as Valentina sat with Dante and Nonna Rosa over breakfast. The elderly woman insisted on these family meals, creating pockets of normalcy in their dangerous world. Steam rose from delicate espresso cups while Nonna fussed over the portions on their plates. "You're both too thin," she declared, adding another pastry to Valentina's plate. "Love needs fuel." Dante's phone buzzed. His expression shifted as he read the message, all warmth draining from his features. "Business," he said curtly, standing. "I'll be back later." Valentina watched him leave, tension coiling in her stomach. Something felt off. Hours crept by without word from him, unusual since they'd grown closer. She tried working, organizing files in his study, but couldn't focus. By late afternoon, her anxiety peaked. She found Marco in the security room, monitoring feeds. "Where is he?" Marco's normally stoic expression showed strain. "Federal agents raided the River Street warehouse. Anonymous tip came in last night with internal security details, very specific information." Her blood ran cold. "How bad?" "Bad enough. Boss is handling it." Marco wouldn't meet her eyes. The sun had set when Dante finally returned. She heard his heavy footsteps in the hallway and ran to meet him, but stopped short at his expression. Gone was the man who'd held her last night. In his place stood the cold crime boss she'd first met. "My office. Now." She followed, dread building with each step. Inside, he went straight to his computer, pulling up security footage from the previous night. Valentina watched herself sitting at his desk, accessing files. "Explain." "I was checking the trafficking victims' placement details while you were on the phone. I wanted to make sure they were being properly protected." He slapped a folder on the desk. "These files were sent to the FBI this morning. Files you accessed." "What?" "No, I would never." "The evidence says otherwise." His voice was ice. "The same security protocols, shipping schedules, warehouse layouts you viewed, all delivered to federal agents with a neat bow." "Dante, please! You know me. I was only trying to—" "Help those women." "I thought I knew you." He laughed without humor. "I let myself trust you. Stupid." Tears burned her eyes. "Everything between us is real. I would never betray you. You're confined to the estate until I clean up this mess. Guards will be posted. Don't test me on this." "You're making a mistake." "The mistake was mine." He walked out, leaving her with 2 armed men at her door. Hours passed in agony. Dante had left again without another word. She paced her suite, mind racing. None of this made sense. Someone had planned this perfectly to destroy their trust. Needing to clear her head, she ran a hot shower, letting steam fill the bathroom. As condensation clouded the mirror, letters appeared. A message written in clear soap, invisible until revealed by steam. "Daddy says hello. You have friends in the house." Her heart stopped. Before she could process the warning, unfamiliar sounds echoed from downstairs. Not the usual patrol patterns. Wrapping in a robe, she crept to investigate. The hallway was empty, her guards mysteriously absent. She made it halfway down the service stairs when rough hands grabbed her from behind. 3 masked figures moved with practiced efficiency. She fought viciously, her elbow connecting with one attacker's throat, but a sweet-smelling cloth covered her mouth and nose. As consciousness faded, her last coherent thought was of Dante. He would think she planned this escape. The world returned in fragments, silk sheets, familiar perfume. Her childhood bedroom preserved like a museum to innocence long lost. She tried to move, but restraints bit into her wrists. "Welcome home, Piccola." Carlo Russo sat beside the bed, watching her with cold satisfaction. 20 years of hatred had carved deeper lines around his eyes, but his smile remained the same one that haunted her nightmares. "You made it so easy," he mused. "The perfect setup. Plant evidence making you look guilty. Let Salvatore's paranoia do the rest. He practically gift-wrapped you for me." She fought against the fog in her head. "He'll know it was you." "That's exactly what I'm counting on." Carlo stroked her hair, making her skin crawl. "You're the bait that will finally bring him down. And you get to watch me destroy everything you foolishly thought you'd found with him." Valentina pulled against the restraints, earning a warning squeeze of her shoulder. "When he learns the truth." "The truth?" Carlo laughed. "The truth is you're my greatest achievement. Everything that's about to happen. Salvatore's downfall, the destruction of his empire, his slow death as he realizes how completely I've played him. It all begins with you, my loyal daughter, finally serving her purpose." The drugs still clouded her system, but rage burned through the haze. This man had stolen her childhood, twisted her world, and now threatened to destroy the one real thing she'd found. She met his eyes, letting him see the same cold calculation he'd taught her. "You made a mistake," she said quietly. "Did I?" He seemed amused. "You taught me too well, how to wait, how to plan, how to identify weaknesses." She smiled with all her teeth. "And now you've brought me right where I need to be." For just a moment, uncertainty flickered in Carlo's eyes. Then his mask returned. "Rest, Piccola. You'll need your strength for what's coming." He left her alone in the familiar prison of her childhood room. her mind already cataloging every detail, every potential weapon, every possible escape route. She was no longer the frightened girl who had fled this house. Dante had shown her what real strength looked like, what it meant to be valued instead of owned. They had underestimated her, all of them. Let them think she was just a pawn in their game. She would show them exactly what she'd become. The Salvatore Estates Security Center erupted in chaos as Dante stormed through the door. Bodies littered the ground, 3 of his men dead, others groaning with injuries. Blood spattered the expensive wallpaper he knew Valentina had helped choose just weeks ago. "Report!" he barked at Marco, who looked grim. 4 intruders breached through the old tunnel system, caught us completely off guard. Marco handed him a tablet showing security footage. Initial sweep suggests Valentina's gone. Her room's clear, no signs of... Show me. They strode through familiar halls now transformed into a crime scene. Dante's chest constricted as they entered Valentina's suite. The bed was still made, her book on the nightstand open to where she'd left off. Everything looked untouched except... blood. Marco pointed to dark droplets near the bathroom. And signs of struggle by the stairs. "Sir, I know what it looked like with the federal raid, but..." Dante's phone rang. Unknown number. "Salvatore!" "You should have killed me when you had the chance, boy!" Carlo Russo's voice dripped with satisfaction. Ice flooded Dante's veins. "If you've touched her, now, let's be civil." A pause. "I'm sending you a little video. Watch carefully." The message notification chimed. Dante's fingers tightened on the phone as he opened it. Valentina sat bound to a chair, her face bruised but eyes defiant. A hand yanked her hair, making her gasp. Carlo's voice came from off-camera. "Tell him the terms, Piccola." "Don't you dare come for me," she spat instead. The hand struck her. "Enough games," Carlo said into the phone. "You have 1 hour. Come alone to the address I'll send. Trade yourself for her, or she goes to auction as originally planned. I hear the Vitelli family is still very interested." "I'll kill you," Dante said softly. 1 hour. The line went dead. Marco stepped closer. "Sir, we can't..." "Get me everything on the Russo compound, now." While his team scrambled, Dante returned to Valentina's bathroom, searching for any clue she might have left. Steam from the earlier shower had mostly faded from the mirror, but something caught his eye. Turning on the hot water, he watched as condensation revealed a message. "Daddy says hello. You have friends in the house." She'd tried to warn him. He'd let Carlo manipulate him into doubting her, into leaving her vulnerable. Across town, Valentina endured her father's gloating as he paced her childhood bedroom. Her wrists burned from the restraints, but she forced herself to stay calm, analyzing every detail. "You know what's truly poetic," Carlo mused. "That you chose him of all people. It makes the revenge so much sweeter." "What are you talking about?" He smiled, that terrible smile she remembered from childhood. "Your mother wasn't some mistress who died in childbirth. She was Maria Salvatore, Dante's precious aunt." The world tilted. "You're lying." "She was going to leave me for a Salvatore," he spat, "pregnant with their bastard child. So I eliminated the problem, kept the baby as insurance. That flash drive you stole contains proof of everything, DNA tests, medical records, photographs. I've waited decades to use this against them." Valentina's mind raced. First cousins once removed, distant enough to be legal, but in their world, family loyalty was everything. Carlo was trying to destroy not just their relationship, but their entire foundation of trust. She forced herself to look devastated. "So I'm a Salvatore. You're whatever I say you are." He gripped her chin. "And soon you'll watch as I destroy everything your precious Dante has built." "How?" she asked, letting her voice shake. "He's too powerful now." "Is he?" Carlo preened, unable to resist explaining his brilliance. As he outlined his trap, Valentina subtly shifted position. The old floorboard under her foot, the one that had driven her crazy as a teenager, still contained the emergency beacon she'd hidden years ago. If it still worked, if Dante's team was monitoring the old frequencies... She pressed down hard. At the Salvatore estate, alarms blared. "Sir," Marco burst in, "we're picking up a signal. Old emergency frequency we used to monitor Russo's compound. It's her." Dante was already moving. "Call our federal contact. Tell them it's time." Teams deployed with practiced efficiency, in exchange for evidence against Carlo's trafficking operation and immunity for certain Salvatore enterprises. Federal agents would provide backup and cleanup. Personal vendettas meant nothing to them as long as they got their high-profile bust. Night fell as vehicles surrounded the Russo compound. Through thermal imaging, they watched Carlo rush Valentina toward a waiting car, his escape route to Mexico. In position, Marco's voice came through comms. Dante checked his weapon. On my mark. The next minutes dissolved into controlled chaos. Federal agents breached the gates while Dante's team penetrated the house. Gunfire erupted. Carlo dragged Valentina toward the garage, using her as a shield. Dante's voice cut through the darkness. It's over, Carlo! They faced each other in the marble foyer, the monster who'd murdered Dante's parents and the boy who'd spent 20 years becoming strong enough for this moment. Tell him, Piccola, Carlo sneered, pressing a gun to Valentina's head. Tell him what you really are. http://ed docs google.com document D 1US KXMKNJN 8LQ WO QPY 2FI3K DP0 GFX 1YXMK MB1IM edit eyes feast. Sharing the warm breeze carried the scent of lemon blossoms across the terrace of the cliffside villa. Valentina stood before the antique mirror, adjusting the delicate lace of her wedding dress. 6 months had transformed her from a terrified fugitive into a woman who carried herself with quiet strength. Sophia fussed with the train, smiling. You look like an angel, Miss Valentina. Just Valentina now, Sophia. We're family. She touched the sapphire pendant at her throat, a gift from Nonna Rosa, who'd insisted on something blue. Aria, Dante's sister, breezed in with a champagne flute filled with sparkling water. The guests are arriving. Marco says security's in place, though I doubt anyone would dare cause trouble today. The intimate gathering included only their closest circle, those who'd proven their loyalty during the reformation of the Salvatore organization. After Carlo's death, Dante had surprised everyone by announcing his intention to legitimize their holdings. With Valentina's business acumen and his strategic mind, they'd transformed most operations within months. My brother's barely recognizable, Aria continued, helping arrange Valentina's veil. Yesterday, I caught him smiling. Actually smiling. The staff nearly had heart attacks. Valentina laughed, remembering how that same terrifying man had proposed. He'd taken her to his parents' graves, explaining that they'd been married in this same villa. There, surrounded by marble angels, he'd knelt and offered not just a ring but a promise, that together they'd build something worthy of both their families' better legacies. A knock interrupted her thoughts. Nonna Rosa entered, moving slowly with her walker but beaming. It's time, cara mia. The ceremony location had been Dante's choice, the villa's ancient terrace overlooking the Amalfi coast. White flowers draped every surface, their perfume mingling with sea salt on the air. As Valentina walked the aisle, scattered with rose petals, she saw the moment Dante first glimpsed her. His customary mask of control slipped, revealing such raw emotion that tears pricked her eyes. He took her hand, thumb brushing her pulse point, a gesture that had evolved from possessive to tender over their months together. The priest spoke in flowing Italian, but Valentina barely heard the words. She was lost in memories. Their first kiss in his study, nights spent planning their future, the gradual healing of old wounds through trust and understanding. Their vows, written together late one night, spoke of choosing love over vengeance, of building rather than destroying. When Dante slipped the ring onto her. Finger, platinum and sapphires, elegant but understated. His hands trembled slightly. Only she noticed. The reception flowed with wine and laughter, another transformation in a household once ruled by fear. Dante kept her close, his arm around her waist as they moved among their guests. The sun began its descent, painting the Mediterranean golden rose. "Walk with me," she whispered against his ear. They slipped away to a private corner of the terrace. Waves crashed against the cliffs below, a rhythm as steady as her heartbeat. Dante pulled her close, pressing his lips to her temple. "Happy, Mrs. Salvatore?" "Very." She traced the line of his jaw, still amazed she could touch him so freely. "But I have something to tell you." His body tensed. Old habits died hard. She took his hand, guiding it to rest against her still flat stomach. Understanding dawned in his eyes. "You're certain?" She nodded, watching joy transform his features. 3 months. I wanted to be sure before I told you. His hand splayed protectively over her abdomen, his other arm pulling her closer. "A baby," he whispered, voice rough with emotion. "Our baby," she corrected. "Who will never know fear or pain or loneliness, who will be surrounded by love and protection, who will help us write a new chapter for both our families." Dante knelt, pressing his forehead against her stomach. The gesture of vulnerability, of complete surrender to joy, brought tears to her eyes. This was the man only she knew. The one who read poetry late at night, who visited his grandmother daily, who had chosen love over an empire of fear. "I swear," he murmured in Italian, "no harm will ever touch you or our child. You've given me more than revenge ever could. You've given me peace." She ran her fingers through his hair, remembering the cold man who'd first interrogated her in his office. Who could have imagined that her desperate plea for protection would lead here, that the monster in her childhood nightmares would be destroyed not by violence, but by love? The setting sun bathed them in golden light as Dante stood, gathering her close. His kiss tasted of promise and possibility. Behind them, music and laughter drifted from their celebration, the sound of family, of home, of a future neither had dared imagine possible. "We should return to our guests," she murmured against his lips. "In a moment." His hand remained on her stomach, tender and protective. "Let me just hold this moment a little longer." She relaxed into his embrace, feeling the steady beat of his heart. The Mediterranean stretched endlessly before them, its waters turned to liquid gold by the setting sun. Here, in this perfect moment, the shadows of their past seemed to finally fade against the brightness of their future. 6 months had changed everything. The frightened girl who'd arrived at his gates in the rain had become a woman who stood as his equal. The ruthless man who'd ruled through fear had learned to lead with wisdom. Together, they'd discovered that love could be both gentle and fierce, that family meant more than blood, that even the darkest paths could lead to light. Dante pressed another kiss to her temple. "Shall we, my love?" Hand in hand, they turned back toward their celebration. The terrace glowed with hundreds of tiny lights, their guests silhouetted against the twilight sky. Music floated on the breeze, a traditional Italian love song that made Nonna Rosa cry happy tears. As they rejoined their family, Valentina felt the future stirring beneath her heart. Their child would know only love, only protection, only the better angels of both their natures. In the end, that was the greatest victory of all.